Folks, heading out to the southern part of Lake Michigan, we're going to talk with Captain Caleb Zorn, and I've had the pleasure of fishing with Caleb the last several years. He is a true expert on fishing on Lake Michigan and actually has been on charter boats since he was 10 years old. Hey, look at that. We got Caleb and his dog, Augie, standing by. Hey, Augie, I can't see Augie's face. How's he doing there, Caleb?
He's doing pretty good. We're having a blast out in the snowstorm right now.
That's your buddy? That's your buddy?
Big partner.
All right. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, we are getting into the exciting time of year for fishing out on Lake Michigan. And, you know, most everybody's put their boat away. They're missing some wonderful fishing in late November, December, January, aren't they?
Definitely world-class fishing that we have, you know, just in our backyard, basically. And not a lot of people do it just because everyone gets their boats winterized, and we actually get out there and catch those fish.
All right, what's available in, let's just talk Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee Harbor. What's available in the wintertime?
You know, depending on where you go at exactly in the harbor, a lot of harbors will have the pumps going, and you will not get that much ice buildup in those, and a lot of guys will bobber fish them. Can even, if you get, you know, a bigger span, people throw crankbaits and do just fine. And then you get the guys that are probably 10 feet off of it ice fishing with tip-ups.
Yeah, right. Now let's take Milwaukee, for example. That is a tremendous brown trout fishery in a boat almost all winter, right?
Definitely. If you get the boat in anytime after December, you are going to catch brown trout.
What kind of techniques do you like to use for the browns?
You know, it depends on the type of day and the angler I got in the boat. You know, one that's pretty simple that everyone can use is like a drop shot, almost like a three-way, and you can do a spawn sack with fish eggs, or you could do like a jerk minnow on I like to go with about a 3/8 ounce darter head on that. You know, that seems to be the best. You know, you can get the bottom, you can fish midway through the water column, or even some sort of jigging spoon.
Now, in the Milwaukee Harbor per se, it's a big body of water. I mean, it's like a giant lake. And are there certain areas you look for? Do you look in the gaps where the harbor wall is? Do you look in the mouth of the Milwaukee River? Or what are you looking for?
Yep. You know, a lot of times I'll pay attention to the graph first. I'll roll through the gaps and looking at the graph. If I mark bait and some hooks on the bottom, we're going to stop and fish those down. If not, then we'll go to the discharges. And like you did say, the Milwaukee River always holds fish. We get a strong push of steelhead that'll start to show up here pretty soon that are very well overlooked.
Yeah, you mentioned steelhead. Are there any opportunities for guys to fish the rivers, whether it be the Root or the Milwaukee River? Or
Definitely, yeah. If you can find it within the next month, if you can find an open stretch of the river with some good flow, you're probably going to catch some steelhead out of there.
And that's a lot of fun. And you can just use a bobber and a spawn sack?
Bobber, spawn sack, you know, even a little hair jig, some sort of, you know, white marabou, or even a lot of guys will just put on, you know, a single hook there and fill it up with wax worms.
Are there a lot of public areas for guys to shore fish on the rivers?
Definitely, especially areas that are opened later in the year. They're very accessible from the shore for the shore guys.
I know the Milwaukee River has several parks where folks can go. Root River, the same?
Yep, definitely the Root River. You know, the Root River is just like the Milwaukee, but just smaller. You know, it can even have better fishing in the Root River than the Milwaukee at times.
And these steelhead runs, and I know that there's some browns in the rivers at the same time too. It's almost like being out west and fishing in Utah or Oregon or somewhere.
Yep, definitely the state of Washington. You know, we get a winter push of steelhead up there, and you know, the big thing with that is getting the right current flow, kind of looking at the flow chart and figuring out, you know, what it's going to be like. If we get a big snowstorm and a thaw, within 2 days, the river's kind of going to be washed out. You might want to give it 3 or 4 days, and then you'd have a strong push of fish up there.
Okay, turning the page back to Lake Michigan now, a couple of things I've learned over the years. Take extra precaution out there, obviously, but the west wind is really what you want.
Yeah, west wind, you know, the water's going to be so cold this time of year. It's not like the west wind's really going to change much, but it's going to be, you know, for the biggest safety reason. You know, you're not going to get too big of waves coming that time of year, but you better hope the boat does start, because if it don't start, you're going to drift out.
Yeah, and again, talking about Milwaukee Harbor once again, because that stays open more than any of the other harbors as far as trout are concerned. Tell the folks what a good day is like out there.
I mean, some days you just got to find what they're going to key in on, and you can put 30, 40 fish in the boat, in a half day trip, no problem.
Should mention too the Oak Creek Power Plant down there between Milwaukee and Racine. That holds a lot of fish too.
Yeah, especially if you can get good water clarity in there, and not a really dirty water, but those dischargers are always going to be pumping out nice water. Get a little chalk line, and that'll hold a lot of fish.
Any opportunities for shore fishermen, guys that want to fish from shore in Milwaukee or Racine? I know Milwaukee, in the mouth of the river, has a really good spot for guys to park their car and cast out a minnow on a three-way, right, and catch brown.
Yep, they'll catch browns. Even some burbot are starting to show up, lawyer fish that they catch out there. And some guys get into that more than the brown trout.
Now, last question: as we get into late December and January, a lot of times the Racine Harbor freezes over, Kenosha Harbor freezes over, the Sailing Center in Milwaukee freezes over. Are there good ice fishing opportunities for guys in those areas?
Yeah, there's a lot of good brown trout and steelhead fishing. If you can get on the ice, and guys will use spawn sacks, minnows. Sometimes the minnows outfish the spawn sacks, but you just got to put out a few tip ups and see what works the best.
And I want to again I mentioned Racine, Kenosha, the Sailing Center in Milwaukee. Actually, the Manitowoc and Sheboygan harbors can be good for ice fishing too later on.
Yeah, big time.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, thank you. And again, I think guys are really missing the boat, no pun intended, if they don't get out and enjoy world-class trout fishing, right?
Definitely, they're really missing out on that.
Want to mention too, you're guiding every day. Folks want to get out and catch some of these browns, open water.
Yep, guiding every day up till January, even a little bit in January.
All right, Captain Caleb. Thanks, buddy.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you, John.
Augie. Bye, Augie.